All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice exam series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe for all of our updates. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, please let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. Tommy signs up for Spanish lessons. The first day of lessons, his tutor asks him to say some simple words like hello, cat, and cheese and records whether Tommy said them correctly to get an idea of Tommy's skill level. What does this scenario resemble? Whenever you get questions that are asking to describe the scenario, describe what is happening, it's very important you understand the main ideas and what you're really looking at. So let's look at this example. Tommy signs up for Spanish lessons, and then what happens? Because signing up for Spanish lessons doesn't seem all that relevant. But his tutor asked him to say simple words like hello, cat, and cheese, and then records whether Tommy said them correctly. Importantly, to get an idea of Tommy's skill level. So immediately when you read that bit of information, get an idea of Tommy's skill level, you should immediately start thinking of one thing. And this is where fluency comes into play. It's so important to be fluent. If you're fluent, then as soon as you read, get an idea of Tommy's skill level, there's only one word that should come to mind. And so what does this scenario resemble? A, prompting. Are we describing any prompts here? No. The tutor is simply asking Tommy to say words and then recording whether he said them correctly. She's not prompting him. She's not giving him feedback. It's simply doing what? What's simply be probing. Probing is when we're just trying to figure out what can you do, what can't you do. I'm going to ask you to engage in a behavior and just record, did you do it, did you not? That is the whole idea behind probing. What is your skill level? And that's what the Spanish teacher is trying to accomplish. What about differential reinforcement? Well, she's not putting anything on extinction. She's not reinforcing alternative behaviors or incompatible behaviors. She's simply giving an instruction and recording what happened. And then a maintenance check. Well, Tommy just started lessons, right? So it isn't like she taught Tommy something, stopped teaching, and then checked if he could still say these words. It's the initial lesson. She wants to know, can you do it? Can you not? So we're not close to maintenance yet because intervention hasn't even started. So what does the scenario most resemble? Well, it's going to be B, probing. You're sitting with your supervisor observing a client in the client's backyard. The client is running around on the grass, jumping on the trampoline, and sliding on the slide. You are recording how long the client does each activity without giving any feedback. What type of preference assessment does this most resemble? So we have a preference assessment question, and again, it's your job to identify based on the information what this resembles. And so let's see what we know so far. We know you're with your supervisor observing a client in the client's backyard. Client's running, they're jumping, they're sliding on the slide. What are you doing? How are you recording the preference? Because that's what's important here. With the preference assessment, you want to ask yourself two things. How many items or stimuli am I assessing at a time? And how am I recording these items? If you're presenting one item at a time, well, it's most likely single choice. If you're presenting two items at a time, it's most likely forced choice. So by knowing how many items, it's a pretty good giveaway of what you're going to choose. In this case, though, you're not presenting the items. You're just observing and then recording how long the client does each activity without giving any feedback. In other words, you're sitting back, watching the client in their own environment, engaging with all these stimuli. So what type of assessment does it resemble? A, single choice, and B, forced choice. We just talked a little bit about these. With single choice and forced choice, they're both very contrived, right? So you are setting it up to where you're presenting one or two stimuli, depending on what you're doing, and then you're going to record the interaction for whatever one they choose. In this case, you're not setting anything up. You're simply observing. So now we have multiple stimulus without replacement. So you are looking at multiple stimuli. But again, multiple stimulus assessments are contrived. You're the one laying out the field of items and systematically assessing the preference. In this case, though, what you're doing is a free operant assessment. You're simply observing without any guidance or any direction to the client and just watching. What do they engage in? What do they not? This type of preference assessment most resembles a free operant preference assessment. You're Talking with a friend who asked you to explain to them what negative reinforcement means in ABA. What would be the best way to explain this term? All right, so you might get a question like this where we want you, or the test wants you to explain a term. And that's okay because you want to get good at explaining these ideas. If you can teach somebody ABA, that means you've got a pretty good handle on it. So, what is the best way to explain negative reinforcement? So, before you even go to the answer choices, just try to do it. How would you explain negative reinforcement? Well, you could say negative, right? We're taking something away as a consequence, and it's reinforcement. So, whatever the consequence was for whatever behavior, that behavior should increase in the future. So let's find a good way to explain negative reinforcement. A, negative reinforcement is when you provide a reprimand following a behavior so that behavior stops. This is clearly not negative reinforcement. One, you're adding something, a reprimand, and two, you're punishing the behavior. So if anything, A is positive punishment. B, negative reinforcement is when you put someone in timeout or remove something to stop a behavior. All right, we're getting closer. This is negative, right? You're removing something, you're using timeout procedures, but you're still stopping the behavior. You're still using punishment. We're looking for reinforcement. C, negative reinforcement is when someone escapes or avoids something and that escape avoidance behavior starts to increase. Perfect. Now, this is still pretty jargony, but so far it's the best answer because we have escape or avoid something, meaning something is removed. And as a result, that behavior starts to increase, meaning it was reinforced. C is pretty good. And then D, negative reinforcement is providing praise or items as a way to say good job. Well, we know providing praise or items would be positive because we would be adding something. So the only answer here we can choose is C. Negative reinforcement is when someone escapes or avoids something and that escape avoidance behavior starts to increase. Is it the best way to describe it? Maybe, maybe not, but it is our best answer and we're always going to pick the best answer. You receive an email that says survey respondents needed. You open the email and read, we invite you to participate in this survey to further research in the autism community. Upon completion of this survey, you will earn a $10 Amazon gift card. Are you interested? The email is doing what? Now, interesting question. They want to know what is the email doing? So what is the effect the email is having? What is the email trying to accomplish? Well, let's see. We have the email. It says they need survey respondents. So you start to read the email. It says, we invite you to participate in the survey to further research in the autism community. Upon completion, you will earn a $10 Amazon gift card. So what do we have here? Well, we have a obvious reward, right? The Amazon gift card. And how do you earn the gift card? Well, you have to complete the survey. So say it another way. If you complete the survey, then you get the gift card. So when we use if-then statements, what are we using? Well, A, we're establishing a contingency. Why is this not a bribe? What's the difference? A bribe is almost the opposite of a contingency. A bribe is when the consequence is given and then the response is expected. So if this email gave you the gift card and then said, now you have to complete the survey, but you've already gotten the gift card, that's a bribe. You've already earned the reward without actually doing anything. This here, what the email is doing is a contingency. You've got to complete the response first to gain the consequence. C, offering negative reinforcement. Oh no, they're giving you something, right? So it'd be positive. And then shaping your behavior. They're not really shaping your behavior because they're not going to build up on the survey responses. They want you to finish the survey, right? So they're not really systematically shaping approximations. What the email is doing is establishing this contingency. If you complete the survey, then you get the $10 Amazon gift card. What is not a key component or interventions that you want to include if you are discrimination training? All right, kind of a more analytic question, right? So let's think a little harder about this. We want to engage in discrimination training, which is when we teach our learners to choose or identify between stimuli, right? The most obvious answer is colors, right? We teach something is red, something is blue, and if I say point to red and you can point to red and not blue, then you can discriminate between colors. Pretty straightforward. Now, if you want to do discrimination training, what is not a key component or intervention? A, reinforcement. Well, you're going to want to reinforce, right? Because in our previous example, blue and red, If I say point to red and you point to red, I want to provide reinforcement because I want that behavior to continue. So A is absolutely a key. What about B, extinction? Well, you need extinction because what if I say point to red and you point to blue? Well, I'm going to want to put that behavior on extinction. I'm not going to want to, I'm going to want to withhold all reinforcement. What about punishment? Well, punishment can be used, but is it key? It's definitely not. You should try differential reinforcement first. If that doesn't work, then maybe punishment, right? But punishment is rarely going to be a key component. So, what is not a key component? That's going to be C, punishment. Thank you for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. Make sure you subscribe for all of our updates. It also helps me out a lot. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.